Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So the Iranians are they're taking Donald Trump's lunch. They just continue to humiliate him over and over again. So I have news on that front to share with you guys. I also have news about more war crimes that are being committed by, our great ally Israel, also some that we're committing ourselves. And there's more evidence showing that our government is absolutely covering up how badly this war is going for us and how much money it's going to cost us ultimately. So I have all of that and more for you guys today. First, as you may have heard, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff were supposed to travel to Pakistan. They were going to supposedly resume peace talks with Iranian leaders. So that was going to happen over the weekend. Never took place. Trump claimed, "Oh, I called it off. This was me. It's just going to take them so long to get there and it's just not worth it and blah, blah, blah." Total BS. According to Jeremy Scahill, who's a reporter over at Dropsite News, he's reported for a lot of different places, but he has been in touch. He has been speaking directly with Pakistan, or excuse me, not Pakistan, with Iranian leaders. So he says, no, this is absolutely false. This is Donald Trump's way of saving face because the Iranians do not want to meet with American members. And these aren't even members of Trump's cabinet. Let's keep that in mind. The fact that Jared Kushner was going over there, his son-in-law, okay, Witkoff, I don't think he's officially a part of the cabinet either. These are not the people that they want to negotiate with, okay? Because in the past, they tried to negotiate with them, and according to the Iranians, Kushner and Witkoff don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even understand how uranium works and what exactly they're negotiating even. But the Iranians feel that JD Vance is more anti-war, and so he would be a better fit. At least that's what they're saying. Okay. Could be something else. So the Iranians last week, I mean, they said this out loud. It's not like they're just saying this to Jeremy Scahill. They said, "We are not going to meet with the US unless the Navy blockade of the Hormuz Strait ends." They've made it clear. That's one of their red lines. That's one thing that they require in order to resume these talks. Another thing that they're saying is that, like I said, they want to speak with JD Vance, not Kushner, not Witkoff. So, and then it was announced that, oh, JD Vance wasn't going to be going. He wasn't going to go to Pakistan. So all signs are pointing to the Iranians giving Trump a big middle finger. We now have to wait and see if one of the sides breaks. In the meantime, Trump has ordered the military to shoot and kill anyone planting mines in the Strait of Hormuz. So again, just could escalate tensions, could turn into a very hot and heavy war immediately if this actually happens. He announced this on his failing social media site. And then the Pentagon recently informed Congress, oh, by the way, it could take up to 6 months for us to clear all of the existing mines out of the strait. We're talking about the entire year. Okay, we started this war the end of February. We're now coming up on day 60 officially, and this could take us to the end of the year. The majority consensus among oil industry experts also is that, yeah, the Strait of Hormuz might not be completely open until the end of this year. This is an unmitigated disaster. Absolutely, totally and completely screwed the pooch on this. This 100% works to the benefit of the Iranians because one of their goals, according to Jeremy Scahill, is to drag this out to the election, drag this out to as close as possible to the midterms so that they can harm Donald Trump and the Republicans politically. And they also, plan to harm him by causing pain for Americans and for US allies. So, and this isn't going to be just pain financially from high prices. I mean, it will be that, but the United Nations is also saying the strait being closed is going to cause, and this is how they put it, quote, a very significant and severe food crisis. So they're saying the entire world, but especially like impoverished areas, are going to be massively harmed by this if this continues on. And this is, as I've mentioned before, due to the fact that large portion of the world's fertilizer travels through this strait. It has to go through the strait to reach various countries. So the Trump administration should have known this up front. Apparently, they didn't bother to mention it, to Donald Trump and warn him. So now they're trying to play catch up. They're catching on to the fact that, oh, this could be a problem. And in fact, they recognize that it is such a big problem that they're now desperately trying to fix the shortage and actually considering implementing a Biden era program. So I have an article on that. So this woman here is Brooke Rollins. She is the agricultural secretary, and she is actually reviewing a Biden era program that he had posited. He had, put a whole report together on this, something called the Fertilizer Production Expansion Program. And because he recognized, like, oh, if there's ever a shortage, like the whole world is screwed and we get no food. Okay. So she told a news outlet, yeah, we're looking into this. We don't care whose idea it was. If it was a good idea, we're going to consider it. So, that's a first. We have to give them credit for actually like saying, oh yeah, we're actually going to consider somebody else's policy. Wish they had done that on everything else. But anyway, we also have to contend with a weapons shortage, and all thanks to Donald Trump's moronic war, because new estimates are saying that we have burned through, not going to believe this, well, no, you will, 25 to $35 billion in munitions. 2 months into this war, we have burned through that much. Think of what that money could do for Americans. The health care, the child care, the college tuition. I mean, it's maddening. Okay. And then that is on top of all of the other obscene costs related to this war. We also know now, because it has been confirmed, and I mentioned this about a week or two back, but it has been confirmed by NBC News that there was more damage done to our U.S. military bases in the Middle East than what the government is admitting to. They are totally downplaying this. And NBC News is saying this is going to cost billions of dollars to repair. So on top of what I just mentioned, on top of the cost of moving our troops, on top of the cost of keeping the troops there and feeding them and the fuel for those ships and everything else that's gone into this, it's going to cost us billions of dollars to repair the damage. And then check this out, you guys. So The Intercept published this report about how our government has set up websites that look like traditional Middle East websites. They're using these to push US propaganda and make it appear like, oh, the US is doing such a great job, where the US is winning, but they're framing it as, oh, we're Middle Eastern people. We're in this region and we're seeing it firsthand and we know what's going down and this is just such a huge win for the US and Iran is just losing every day and blah blah blah. So everything on these sites, it is just propaganda, is just mimicking what Donald Trump and his minions are out there saying. And we have more confirmation as to why they started this shit show to begin with. Remember, there's been this back and forth of Marco Rubio said it was because Israel was going to start the war. And so we knew they were going to then target our US bases. And so we had to go and help them and blah, blah, blah. And then they said, oh, no, it wasn't because of Israel. Well, yeah, it was. So last week, the State Department, Donald Trump's State Department, published a press release and admitted that we are doing this for Israel. They wrote in part in this press release, I'll read it to you, quote, that the U.S. is, quote, engaged in this conflict at the request of and in the collective self-defense of its Israeli ally, as well as in the exercise of the United States' own inherent right of self-defense. So Trump and Hegseth can try to spin this any way they want, okay? The fact is we have 13 Americans and thousands of other people, human beings, who are now dead because of Israel. They are the reason, along with, Netanyahu's pet, his new little pet, Donald Trump. They're the reason why prices are skyrocketing, why, the government is lighting our tax dollars on fire right now for this needless war, why Americans still can't afford anything, why we're able to afford even less because of the skyrocketing prices. And who is this great ally of ours? They're people who are committing war crimes. We know that they committed war crimes in Gaza. They are now committing more war crimes in Lebanon and in Iran. So last week it was reported that the Israel purposely targeted I was going to say Israeli forces, the IDF, purposely targeted Lebanese journalists in Lebanon. So we're not talking about, they're, hitting Lebanese journalists who are in, their country that they're worried about or that they're in Iran. No, these are Lebanese journalists in Lebanon, and there's supposed to be a ceasefire going on, but yet they were targeting these people. There were, I believe, 2 journalists. I believe they were both women, if I'm not mistaken. They went into a home and the Red Cross was there. The Red Cross tried to intervene. They were sending messages. They were speaking with people in the Israeli government and said, hey, these are not, this is not like Hezbollah. These are not terrorists. These are journalists. Stop. We need to go in and see if they're still alive, see if we can help them. They were going to try to save their lives. Well, then the Israeli military started attacking the Red Cross workers. This is exactly what Israel does. Again, this is what they did in Gaza. Now they're just spreading their war crimes around the Middle East. And now the Iranians have reported Israel and the US to the ICC, to the International Criminal Court, for war crimes. I mean, this is what we're doing now. Okay, we are now criminals, our government. The Iranians submitted evidence to the International Criminal Court and then other global organizations. And an Iranian spokesperson said, quote, all cases of attacks on civilians are being legally pursued based on the Geneva Conventions. And they cited one situation where all 4 members of a family were killed in their home. And now there is a 19-month-old baby who is left orphaned. And then they wrote this in their report. They said, according to field reports from relief workers, operational documentation and data recorded by the Iranian Red Crescent Society, a wide range of residential areas, medical facilities, schools, humanitarian facilities, vital urban infrastructure, and public places were directly or indiscriminately targeted during the recent military attacks. And we all know, of course, about the bombing of the school. I mean, that was day 1. That left nearly 200 young girls dead. That is a war crime. I mean, this is par for the course with Israel. And to know that now we're doing the same things, it's sickening. It's sickening, it is grotesque. So, this is just what we are doing is obscene. For no reason. For no reason other than to appease Israel and Netanyahu, and seemingly because they have something on Donald Trump. That's the only thing I can really come up with. It's the only thing that makes sense. Why he would tank his presidency and the midterms for his party, 7 months out from an election. It's the only thing that makes sense. Anyway, guys, I'll let you know when I hear more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.